Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome to part 2 of Big Blend Radio's Excellence in Tourism series on how to put the I back into community through a responsible tourism plan that incorporates the 8 keys of excellence. Today's show starts with a panel discussion that focuses on integrity, the first key of the 8 keys of excellence, and how a community maintains its integrity by defining its identity and showcasing its positive values, thus providing an authentic sense of place for locals and visitors alike. Featured guests on the panel include Bobbi DePorter, the president of Quantum Learning Network, the co-founder of SuperCamp and creator of the 8 Keys of Excellence Character Education Program. We have Glynn Burrows, who is a family history expert and owner of Norfolk Tours. It's a bespoke tour company that services all of England and Scotland and Wales, wherever you want to go.
That's cool.
Stephanie McMillin, she is the executive director of Springfield's Tourism Commission in Central Kentucky, the land of bourbon, horses, and history. They know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Also, at the end of the discussion, of course, we're going to play good music. We have travel music. We're going to hear a world traveler's view on what the sense of place is. Dr. Jacqueline Ubani, she is a cardiologist, electrophysiologist, and author of Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. She's an avid world traveler, having gone to over 60 countries. And when she goes, she spends 2 weeks in depth actually exploring from early in the morning till late at night. She wants to see everything. And she makes the difference between going out and really exploring a culture and getting to know the history and the landscape, the nature, the foods, how that takes time versus if you just want to close your eyes and rest, and then she books herself into a resort, but that's only a 2 to 3 day trip. So right there teaching the value of going somewhere that is completely unique. And then we've got some Hollywood history from Steve Schneikert. Steve talks about travel movies like Easy Rider, Little Miss Sunshine. All of these kinds of movies do provide a sense of place. When you're watching a movie that incorporates travel and you don't feel like, ooh, I want to go there, or like, dude, I didn't know that, they have not provided a sense of place. And one of the key ingredients is the integrity of the destination. So a lot of people travel according to film locations.
Of course.
Springfield, Kentucky is one of them.
I know, and it's fun.
Oceanside is.
It's like, it's true.
Oceanside, California, where Bobbi is. Yes.
Yeah.
Easy. Top Gun. Top Gun.
Yeah. You can go see that house.
I know. We'll have to ask Glynn about Norfolk, England.
Yeah.
Any movie locations there. So happy Sunday, everybody. It's March 11th, 2018. It's Daylight Savings Day here in America, but over in Glynn's country, England, it's Mothering Sunday. So happy Mother's Day, happy Mothering Sunday to all the ladies of England. And Europe, I believe, too. It might even be in South Africa as well.
I think it's wherever the English history is.
It's also Johnny Appleseed Day. I think that's important.
Was he real?
That's the whole thing. He's friends with Paul Bunyan. They're friends.
And King Arthur.
You're listening to Big Blend Radio. We're streaming live from a little rainy Tucson, Arizona. The desert loves it. We're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of 2 digital interactive publications. We have Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine. That's our variety lifestyle publication. And you can get that at blendradioandtv.com. Also, Parks and Travel Magazine that covers parks, their gateway communities, and surrounding public lands. You can get that at nationalparktraveling.com. Big Blend Radio airs daily now. Monday through Thursdays, our shows and segments air at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday, Saturday, Sundays, we air from 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The schedule is always posted at bigblendradio.com. Are you ready to get the show started, Nancy? Talk about excellence in tourism and travel?
Let's travel.
have some special guests joining us for a panel discussion on tourism here on Big Blend Radio, excellence in tourism. And we're going to be focusing on integrity, which is the first key of the 8 keys of excellence. We're going to talk about how a community maintains its integrity by defining its identity and showcasing its positive values, and that provides an authentic sense of place for locals and visitors alike. Our guest contributors are all contributors of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine and Parks and Travel Magazine. If you go to blendradioandtv.com, you'll see them all featured in our expert department. But today we're going to start off in San Diego, beautiful Oceanside, San Diego, California, with Bobbi DePorter. She is the queen of excellence. She's the co-founder of SuperCamp, which happens to be the world's leading summer academic achievement program for teens and preteens. She's also the president of Quantum Learning Network, which trains teachers and educators. Now, Bobbi created the 8 Keys of Excellence, and she's also the author of numerous books, including The 8 Keys of Excellence, Principles to Live By, and her latest is Excellence in Teaching and Learning, the Quantum Learning System, and she co-authored that with her friend Barbara K. Given. So go to supercamp.com because now is the season to book your kids into summer camp. It's an amazing program, and for the 8 Keys of Excellence, go to 8keys.org. That's the number, 8keys.org. Bobbi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited. How is Oceanside? Is it sunny, or do you have rain like we have here?
I know. Sunny Oceanside is a little rainy today, so we can use the rain as well. So appreciate it when it comes.
Absolutely. That's such a beautiful area, and you actually love overcast, rainy days in Oceanside and Carlsbad and Vista, your whole, North San Diego County hub there, because all the vegetation just gets all excited. The plants and the flowers start bursting in bloom, and it's pretty.
It is pretty.
It's a really pretty place.
And the ocean has that mystical quality.
Yeah.
I like it.
Even in Oceanside, I know people that have traveled to the mountains to see the spring flowers, and then they come down to Oceanside and they say, even on our freeways, we have more flowers than they saw up in the mountains, so that's beautiful.
It is, and you've got the San Diego Botanic Garden in your backyard, too, which is an incredible place. We love that, and they have a children's garden. It's cool. I like to hang out there.
I know. That's the best part.
The children's garden.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to go over to central Kentucky, the land of bourbon, horses, and history, and we're going to chat with Stephanie McMillin. She's the executive director of the Springfield Tourism Commission, and you can go to her website, visit springfieldky.com. Stephanie, how are you doing?
Wonderful, except it's cold here. I wish I was at Oceanside just for a day.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know Oceanside in San Diego, because we used to be based in Yuma, Arizona, just a few hours from us, and you just came back from the beach. You were making me jealous on your Instagram photos.
Oh, it was wonderful. It's great weather out there. I love it.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Well, now we're going to hop over the pond, the big ocean, to Norfolk, England, historic Norfolk, to chat with Glynn Burrows. He's a family history expert, also the owner of Norfolk Tours. They customize tours, private tours, for travelers visiting, whether they want to discover their ancestry or they want to go and have fish and chips on the beach or they want to go to a historic tavern or look at trees with Judi Dench. I'm just saying, I want to do that, Glynn. He's the man to go to, but you could go to his website, norfolk-tours.co.uk. Glynn, welcome back. How are you?
Fantastic today, thanks. And funnily enough, guess where we went today? We went to Wells next to the sea, and we had fish and chips for lunch. How's that, eh?
See? Now, okay, so now did you have, you know what I'm going to ask, a Mr. Whippy?
No. Diane did think that she would have a Mr. Whippy, but it was a little bit chilly for a Mr. Whippy today. Funnily enough, I was talking to a man on Wednesday. He makes ice cream, and he is trying to perfect a Mr. Whippy type ice cream for his business. So that's what he's trying to do. And I said we need to find a new name for it.
Yes,
I
agree with that.
We need to think of a new name for a Norfolk Mr. Whippy.
Yeah, the Norfolk Swirl.
Okay, Norfolk Swirl. Right, I'll tell him that was your suggestion.
There it is. I like that. And I know Mr. Whippy has the name. I always have to feel like I have to explain what a Mr. Whippy is to people because they may think other things about that. But You're not going to get whipped in Norfolk. Let me just say, it's beautiful ice cream with a nice chocolate flake in there. It's good. It's good for you. So let's talk about the 8 keys of excellence. As something that we have a series. Nancy, especially, is writing a lot of it of. Excellence in tourism and the importance of tourism, and if it's done correctly, the community has to be part of it. And after traveling the country for 3 years and more coming up, we really learned a lot about the communities, their connection to the parks, the destinations, and we realized that the 8 keys of excellence is really something not just for individuals, but for entire communities to adopt into their lives and also into the corporate, the business, the tourism world. And Bobbi, do you want to give everyone an overview of what the 8 keys of excellence are?
Well, the 8 keys of excellence are a set of guiding principles that really become our core and who we are, and becomes an expression so that people trust us and respect us because they know what we stand for. So just like you said, whether it's an individual, whether it's youth in schools, in businesses, we have the 8 keys of excellence up on walls in restaurants where the owners talk about them with customers, and community-wide. So it creates a unification, and they're universal principles. Every culture, every part of the world, these are truths that are true wherever they are. Mm-hmm. So the 8 keys of excellence, we have 8 of them, and they are integrity, which I'll get back to as well because we'll focus on that, which is match behavior with values. Failure leads to success. Learn from mistakes. Speak with good purpose. Speak honestly and kindly. This is it. Make the most of every moment. Commitment. Make your dreams happen. Excuse me, I have a cough. Ownership. Ownership, take responsibility for actions. Flexibility, be willing to do things differently. And balance, live your best life.
We like that. The balance to me is part of tourism, especially because to live your best life, one must travel, have fun, and enjoy
it.
So.
And we're always talking about sustainable tourism, and you don't have that if it isn't balanced. Mm-mm. So that's a real important key.
And just looking at the keys as you said them, this is how we've adopted them into the tourism world as integrity. We talk about provide a sense of place, define your community identity, and showcase its positive values. When we talk about failure leads to success, we say make lemonade. View negative community attributes as opportunities to enhance, improve, and enrich. The third is speak with good purpose. We say be positive. Keep your community story and all communications positive, especially with clients, everybody. This is it. We say it's attention to detail. Stay focused and tuned into your community and visitor needs. You can't have one without the other. The two are united to make something that is responsible and sustainable as a community. Commitment is make your community vision happen. Take consistent positive action to maintain your community identity and to fulfill its vision. Ownership is be part of the solution. Take ownership of your community with positive and responsible actions. Flexibility, we say be willing to do things differently. Recognize what's not working and be willing to change your plan of action to achieve your community goals and vision. And when it comes to balance, it's build a sustainable and responsible community. Consider everything that's meaningful and important to your community and steadily grow with that vision. I want to ask each of you about your community when you think about these 8 keys of excellence. Stephanie, how when you look at Springfield, it's such a historic site. You're the county seat of Washington County, the oldest county in Kentucky. Is it Kentucky or Central Kentucky with the oldest county?
Oh, we're the oldest county in the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Okay, and then you've also got the legacy, Abraham Lincoln's legacy being there because his parents lived there and got married there, and the marriage certificate is there. So when you look at it, the community part is so important to the tourism, right? You can't have one without the other in Springfield.
Absolutely. We take a lot of great pains to preserve history as it was, and we have places outside of Springfield, the city limits, which is Lincoln Homestead State Park, where you can see the cabins, and there's a lot of information and a lot of historical tourism happens around here. People want to know about Abraham Lincoln and the extended family. A lot of Civil War information is dug up through here. It more and more, because we also have the oldest active courthouse west of the Alleghenies. So it's a great place to look up not just genealogical information, but historical information. You can look through the books, the records. We have a Lincoln Legacy Museum that is just packed full of information that it's not easily Googled or may not even be on Google. And we do the same thing with our Main Street. Our Main Street program has been very diligent in preservation, and I think you can see that when you drive through Springfield.
I think that's great. I mean, because of the community in being part of that preservation. Glynn, for you in England, how involved is your community in regards to tourism and their input to make things happen for tourism?
Well, as you know, I'm also chairman of Buy Local Norfolk, which is an organisation to encourage people to support the local independent economy. And a lot of businesses, especially in England, are geared around tourism. And 90% of tourism businesses are quite small. They are either small bed and breakfasts or pubs or restaurants or cafes or attractions, and a lot of them are actually run by families. So the actual integrity of a place is what people in tourism are actually selling, because people go somewhere to go somewhere. They don't go somewhere to be in the same place as they've just come away from. So actually, they go somewhere to see how it's different. And if a place has got, if they own their own area and they look after it and they keep it good and they keep it honest and real and true to itself, then that's the sort of place that people want to go to. And the interesting thing that Stephanie's just been talking about, I mean, about 3-4 miles away from where I'm sitting at the moment is where Abraham Lincoln's ancestors originated from, because they came from Swanton Morley originally. Then one branch of the family broke off and went to Hingham, which is about 10 miles away from here. And then in the 1630s, they decided that actually America looked a nice place, so they decided to up sticks and leave Hingham in Norfolk and founded Hingham in Massachusetts. So whenever Abraham Lincoln is mentioned, you know, his ancestors were as Norfolk as I am, and that's the sort of thing I love. You know, there's all this connection. Is all about what makes things interesting.
Well, communities grow in size. You know, it starts in your backyard and then they spread out, and it's obviously through history. You know, I want to bring Bobbi back. When you look at the 8 keys of excellence in communities, I think, number one, Oceanside is an amazing destination. Oceanside, California, everyone needs to go. And it does retain some of that small-town charm, but I also know Oceanside has really worked hard at revitalizing the downtown, and community. The community part of it is a really big deal. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about the Community Alliance for Youth Success in Oceanside, because it's part of the 8 keys, but it's really about making a healthier community through the youth.
Absolutely. You know, we have a community group that's been going 5 years now, and when I co-founded it with Stenman Graham, and we called community leaders together, and it was so interesting that first meeting, because we had about 80 people in the room, and we had mayors, we had the school superintendents, we had CEOs of big corporations, we had nonprofits, we had parents, we had students. I mean, so many people in the room, and they said, how did you get us together? We never get together. And I would say that what we focus on is support and a message about youth success and really supporting youth in our community. And that is a message that just brought people out as saying, yes, I want to support that. So when, you know, all the leaders are everywhere, you're busy. Everybody is busy. But when there's a message of let's to come together as a community and support youth, that they show up. So, and they've been coming every month for 5 years now. So we have members of city government, we have the corporate, we have the CEOs of the chambers come, we have restaurant owners, we have the youth nonprofits, service clubs, and we have youth themselves that have started youth success clubs themselves to continue the message in their schools and after-school programs. So I think it just sends a really, really positive message about, that we care. We care about youth. We come together. We gather. And it creates a sense of belonging and meaning. And I think that's so important for a community.
And I think for visitors coming in, they know that if you're going to a destination that's looking after their youth, it just gives a different feeling. It's like, oh, wow, I want to be in this community. And I know Oceanside did have some issues a few years back, and through this and these kinds of programs helped youth. And I know that we've done so many shows following your Youth Success Week, the 8 Keys of Excellence Week that happens in Oceanside, where everyone's talking about a specific key every day. You've had the school superintendent on TV every morning talking about that key of excellence and different events. And we've always done a show afterwards, and everyone talks about what's happened. But there's been this is really where community and tourism go hand in hand. You cannot have good, sustainable tourism without a community being healthy and connected. And in Oceanside, I know that there's been issues. There's been shootings, suicides, things like that. And I know on shows that we've talked about, Bobbi, that through the 8 Keys, through a community having this dialogue, this united dialogue, that it's really saved some lives of children.
Well, they feel cared for, that I'm important. I think it sends an important message of adults care, and I mean something. I'm important. It's not like I'm not good enough or nobody cares. And to just send that message alone, this year our Youth Success Week will be the end of April, and that we have a new performing arts center at our Oceanside High School. We're so excited to have this big theater. And we have students in schools and clubs now that are creating short videos of what does success mean to me, and showcase different successes in the schools, in the after-school programs, in the student clubs. And then we're going to have live performances like TED-style talks that the students will do. So it'll be students-led, talking about it. And to me, it sends a different message and redefines success, because students are, all students are successful in some area, and to have them feel good about that, and then when you acknowledge their successes and they can feel proud about it, then it builds for them, to be more motivated and try more things, that it's not just the star student, the straight A, AP star of the, sports team, which is great, but it's all students we want to reach out to and hear their voice and hear them talking about what they're doing.
I think that's so important, if I can come here, because so many people who live in places that haven't necessarily got a voice. There's lots of places where you think, oh, that's a bit of a rough area, or that's a bit low, and people don't work there, and everybody's on benefits, and this, that, and the other. Actually, what is good for those areas is for somebody to actually get off their backsides and say, actually, this area is good, this area is great, and it gives everybody the chance to actually make something of wherever they are. And integrity, although for me, obviously, I've got thousands of years of history where I'm sitting, but it could start today. It doesn't have to have history. It could start tomorrow. If you want to actually start a movement to improve an area and therefore improve chances for everybody who's sitting in that area, who lives there, who works there, then all you've got to do is just make a community, and that can start tomorrow. It doesn't have to have 2,000 years of history behind it. And that is so important for young people, especially young people who are in a bad place. I mean, as you know, I've had mental health problems, and actually all I needed was for somebody to come to me and say, you can, if you want to, you can get off your backsides and do it. That's all you need.
I'm getting off my backside right now.
Yeah.
Well, the communities that Lisa and I have been in that seem to be struggling with tourism, and are fighting about it, little businesses fighting against each other, are the ones where they didn't get together in the very beginning with a vision for tourism and how it would benefit everybody. And then there's always a faction of people who tried to do everything that would benefit only themselves, and they didn't get the buy-in of the rest of the residents. And those are the towns we see where they'll have like maybe a week of being totally overrun with tourism, and then the residents hate tourism because it's being done poorly and it isn't sustainable. And then you have the destinations that are piecemeal where they haven't looked at what they have. Even, I agree with you, you could start today to make a community better, but part of that is outlining what do you have in the natural scale, what's the nature around you, what kind of mountains or beach or what have you got geographically, but then everywhere has got some kind of ancestry and history. You just have to look it up and see what's left remaining of it. Maybe there's buildings that shouldn't be torn down, that are being torn down. And going to Bobbi's actions, the children and kids that are being active today are the ones who are going to keep those buildings so that tourism can flourish and bring everybody some income and be sustainable with it.
I think the key. Go ahead. Go ahead, Glynn.
That is the whole thing about it, because where a person may feel that they are not worth anything, so can an area. And an area may think, why would anybody want to visit this area? Well, actually, as you've said, every area has got something unique. And all you've got to do is work on it and all pull together to actually make it worth visiting and to sustain it. And people will, I think there's an old saying, but if you build it, people will come. And that is all you need to do, is just need to do it.
Yeah, and I think also going from the youth aspect is a game changer, because communities, sometimes you'll have some mucky-mucks at the top who decide this is what the community is and we've always done it this way and we're not going to change. So this is where the flexibility key of excellence comes in. I know, Stephanie, you and I have been in some interesting meetings together, walked out and just you shake your head and go, wow. And sometimes we have to change the dialogue and the perspective of what we're talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about, Stephanie.
Oh, I remember those meetings.
and so there's this other side, and at the end of the day, when you look at how can you argue about taking care of our youth, right? How can we so I think that this is a really big game changer. And Bobbi, that's obviously what you've seen in Oceanside, because it takes a while to get these plans to actually be active beyond the meeting part of it all.
Yes, I mean, we met for quite a while. It's like, what are we about? What are we going to do? We keep showing up to meet, but what action are we taking, or what does this mean? And so over the years, we've come together and defined what we're doing, and it is inspiring the community, and we've written it up as a national model. So with other communities, if they have interest in creating a community alliance that focuses on youth success, we do have a model to share with them.
That's awesome.
It's critical.
It is critical.
It's so important to have the buy-in of the community. And when I say community, I'm not just talking about adults. People respect something that they know something about. Once you've been taught by a park ranger not to trample on this rare flower, now that you know about it, you respect that flower. But you might just walk on it if nobody told you that this is a rare endangered flower.
Exactly. Keep off the grass.
That's right.
I want to look at each of your communities and talk about the integrity of it. What really, I'll use an example. We're here in Tucson, Arizona. If we didn't keep our saguaro cactus that look like little Gumbies, I know, but if we let them get torn down, and we do have some issues with some people going around and shooting our cactus. But this is where the education comes in. These ancient, giant, cactus. I mean, it's amazing. But when people think of Arizona, they think of that, and that is a sense of place. That's an integrity thing. And we've done it so well out here in southern Arizona that when people think of Arizona, they only think of desert and cactus, like that kind of cactus, and they'll think the saguaro cactus is in Texas even. Yet Arizona has mountains and snow and waterfalls and rivers and lakes and places that you wouldn't believe that you're in a desert state. So that's how well we've done it out here. And Stephanie, you can attest to the saguaro, right? You have ever living out this way as well. So that's a sense of place. Bobbi, for you, what would you say about Oceanside has that integrity, that this is what we are as a community, not only for visitors, but it's a community. So a community's that pride, that integrity that you don't want to see gone, you don't want to lose.
No, that's for sure. I mean, within Oceanside, it's keeping our beaches clean and, with wonderful sand because that's a showcase of where we are right along the ocean here. So, and then we have a beautiful harbor. So I think that just keeping our waters clean is what comes up for me. And our city.
Go ahead,
Bobbi. I was looking at, our city of Oceanside, too. One of its core values, the first core value of Oceanside is integrity. Right on their website.
See? There we go. Yay!
And, it is so important because I've been reading articles about billionaires who want to buy public beach space, or they'll buy a house right on the beach and then not let anybody walk through to get to the beach. That's a major problem in most coastal areas now. And if there isn't a group or a community together to keep the integrity of their community alive, one day you won't be able to walk right down to the beach.
Exactly. And Oceanside stood together on that and fought for their band shell, which is right on the beach. It's a lovely little amphitheater right by the pier. Even the pier is one of the longest piers in Southern California, and I think that was even a community project where everyone said, we want a pier, and they put it together. This was a community project. And so that's, to me...
They do. The wood pier has people's names. Must be thousands of names, and it's all people that donated to save the pier.
Yeah. And like they saved the band shell. In fact, our band was playing there when there was like all the rousing about some millionaire was going to buy the land there and nobody could get to the ocean.
So we stood up. You stand up. Integrity is that. And then you have to speak with good purpose to get it done. That's my key of the week. The other part of that is, when we talk about community, Bobbi, and even what we were talking about with Glynn here, about communities, how they can, extend through actual ages and eras and years and through history to modern times. And then, a community can stretch out from here, from Stephanie to Glynn, or should I say from Glynn to Stephanie because of the history, and the movement of history. So communities, it's not just a localized thing. When you look at a community that attracts people in, by having integrity in your community vision and image and identity, then you're telling people this is who we are. So you are attracting the people that are alike. So if you're a positive person, you're going to attract positive people. So whatever you put out there reflects back to you. And so you're building a community with people with like minds, like values. And so I think that's another huge part about tourism. And if you shut out a community, this is where tourism gets a bad name. If you shut out tourism to the community community thinks you're going to put in a theme park and they're going to get overrun in traffic and all these negative things are going to happen. But if you do not work with the community, you do not have a sustainable tourism base. Stephanie, what would you say is integrity for Springfield, Kentucky?
We focus on making sure people know how to get around and giving them good information. When you go to the Opera House, which is our welcome center, we have loads of free maps and information. We have an in-house historian, and this is a town that is focused on the Lincoln legacy and the preservation of the town, and so we don't do anything else really. We have some outdoor activities, and we have a few nice restaurants to go to. But when people come over, they get the information straight from the source, and we host a lot of schools and travel groups bus groups come through Springfield, and a lot of the information that you get is straight from the books from the courthouse.
So it's actual, genuine, it hasn't been twisted, which is important in history because it's also because you have the Holy Land tour, which is tied to genealogy, right? So family history is there, and you can tour. You want to give everyone just a quick overview of that because that's part of keeping these buildings and people's family history alive. That's important.
Well, this 3-county area, it's called the Holy Land because not only do we have the oldest courthouse west of the Alleghenies, we have the oldest churches west of the Alleghenies, and we're part of the Catholic migration that came from Maryland, and they came down through here and they settled. We have North America's oldest Dominican Sisters church here, and the records that are kept are intact. They're immaculate, and they are free for you to go through. We provide free maps that go through all 3 counties, and it's amazing how far-reaching the legacy from this area spans out across the globe. Because
you've got the Lincoln Heritage Trail too. Yeah, I was going to say because you have highways and transcontinental bike trails, and you're connected with these series of historic highways and trails, like actual bicycle trails and things, which is neat.
The Trans-America bike route goes straight through Springfield, and especially during the summer, we can't believe the amount of cyclists that come through here. And a lot of times they stop here. It's sort of a halfway point between, I'd say, Elizabethtown and Berea, which is another great city in Kentucky. It's an art community, and we are so blessed to be able to interact. Tourism is a great thing for our little town because not only do we get to share what we know and share our heritage with people coming through, but we get to interact. We get to talk with them and learn about where they're coming from. From coast to coast in the United States to Europe. We had people from Tibet that were cycling through here, from Brazil, all over Asia. It's wonderful. Tourism is a wonderful thing for not just our town, but all towns.
Right on. I'm with you, sister.
Here.
I
like it.
I know. I love that. Glynn, I think you need to go to Springfield. I mean, there seems to be like they're the oldest churches, and that's part of what happens with you when you take people around is they want to go and get the records. So when Stephanie is talking about having the actual the information being accurate, that's an important thing, especially for families trying to trace their history back.
That is obviously imperative to get the correct information, and the correct information is generally found at source. So it's all well and good looking on the internet at some typed index, but actually you need to see the original documents. And sometimes some of these websites now actually do have the original documents so that you can actually see where the index came from. But most times they don't. And places like the Norfolk Record Office or the Suffolk Record Office or wherever you are, there's a record office. And that's where they have all the parish registers, the manor court books, old maps, old documents, deeds to houses and things. And then you can actually see the actual document, which is what you really need to look at to make sure that you've got the correct information. Because I know that the internet is an absolutely fantastic finding aid, but actually anybody can put anything on the internet, and it doesn't have to be true. So, you see people who say they're related to the Queen. Well, actually, they may not be because they may have just made it up. So, you need to go back to the original documents. And for people in America, they need to start where they are. So they need to look at their documents in America and find out what they can find about their American side of their family history. they may then be able to tie that into England, because a lot of information in America will tell you where the people came from when they arrived. Or, for instance, for the people who founded towns like Hingham, it's pretty obvious where they came from. They came from Hingham, because they called the place Hingham after where they just came from.
Right.
So very often you'll find that the early settlers called their town after the place they left. So that's the first place to go to. But, going to look at the Lincoln connection, you see, we are on two sides of the Atlantic Ocean, but already I have a connection with that little town in America, because that's where Abraham Lincoln's family lived.
Yeah.
And I live, like I say, 3 or 4 miles away from where Abraham Lincoln families lived in the 1600s. That's a fantastic connection. Yet we're across the other side of the world, and we've never met. So we've got our own little community going on here.
I know. I love it. But
I think Glenn's really right about seeing the original document if you can, because the first thing is there's a person's signature, which kind of triggers in your brain that there was actually a real person who signed this document, as opposed to something being typed. I know that somebody's behind the typewriter, or the computer, but a person's signature, especially if it's one of your ancestors, a relative, it just means so much more.
Yeah, can I come back in there? Because when I first started my family history in 1977, one of my most exciting times was I found a document that was signed by my 7 times great-grandmother in 1705. Because when her husband died, she had to go and appear to the local court to prove that she was his wife. And her signature was on this piece of paper. Actually, it was only a cross. But to think that she held that piece of paper and she picked up a pen and scrawled across, and I was holding the same piece of paper over 200, nearly 300 years apart, is amazing. That is so real.
That's true integrity. That's a real sense of place. That's authentic, and it's integrity in family history that it's still there, that you can experience, because it's an experience when you're there and that's the thing about travel. And this is responsible travel. This is heritage travel, nature travel, these things that do not hurt the environment or destroy a community. It's building it and preserving the history. And Glynn, when you think about integrity in Norfolk, where you live, what would be the thing that tells everybody you're in Norfolk?
Well, it is just everything that is around you. I mean, the buildings, as I said in my article, the buildings in Norfolk are different to the buildings in Suffolk. If you look at proper old buildings, the countryside is different. The cuisine even is different up on the coast. I was up on the coast today, and if I go there certain times of the year, they've got fresh mussels. If I go there another time of the year, they've got samphire, which is a seaweed, which is a local speciality. If I go there another time of the year, they've got locally caught crabs and lobsters. It's all about what you see, but again, it's by going to the local places. If I go to the supermarket, I can buy a crab or a lobster or mussels any time of the year, because that's what supermarkets do. If I go to a local fishmonger, I will only be able to buy crabs and lobsters and mussels when crabs and lobsters and mussels are in season. And also, I will only be able to go and buy fresh crabs when the fishermen have actually been able to go out and catch them. Because sometimes, even when they're in season, the fishermen can't go out because it's too rough, so they don't catch any crabs. So you can't buy them. But you can in the supermarket. But that's not what you go for, is it?
Yeah, you don't want to travel to go to supermarkets. You want to travel to go meet the fishermen, and that's a sense of place of a destination. But you cannot have the sense of place without a person having their own integrity. And Bobbi, going back to that, the first key of excellence, integrity. Let's talk a little bit about that, because when you meet someone who has integrity, when you meet someone like that, you know who they are. You know what I mean? They're proud to wear it. There's no hiding who you are.
There absolutely is no hiding it, because one of our definitions of integrity is that integrity is an expression of who you are, and people see it. And when it's positive expression, then that's where they trust and respect us. So, the first step in integrity is really knowing what you value and being specific. And I'm such a believer in writing things down, because I can talk about it and sometimes it can drift away. But when I write it down, and I keep it over years, every year I have a place saved on my computer where I just write, where are my values, and what's most important to me, and look at it over the years. So I have a lot of years I can look at that. But when you're very, very clear about what you value, and then you're living those values. That's the key of integrity, is that you're living what you value, and people can see it and trust it. And they say everything we do and say is a true reflection of what we value. So again, it loops back to be really, really clear about what we value, really specific, and then we know when our actions and behaviors are aligning with those values, because, if we value honesty and this is a small white lie, because it's convenient in the time, we feel it. We feel it in our gut, and we're a little off. We're not in alignment. And so, one of the quotes on integrity is that it needs no rules, because integrity is always doing the right thing. And we know it. We do know what the right thing is, and we know when we're off. So it's that true expression. And, we define it as demonstrating your positive personal values in all you say and do. Be sincere and real. So it's an expression of who we are personally, and the same things apply to community. It's an expression. People drive in and know what you value.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Excellent. I thank you all for joining us on this, because I think it's so important for communities, and important even if the community decides, we're going to be an organic farm community. We're not going to do much on tourism. It's really, but tourism does boost your income to a community. It's one of the top industries in the world, and it can be one that really sustains an industry. We've just did an interview with Adam Roberts, who's a wildlife conservationist who's been on our show since day one, and he was talking about in Tanzania there's an organization called PAMS Foundation, P-A-M-S, PAMS Foundation, and not only do they go out and educate about preserving and protecting elephants and giraffes, this community has gotten together and taken a stand against poaching by saying, community-wise, we care about these elephants. So they've learned how to protect their homes from elephants coming through by using tar and chili and hanging rags on their fences, so elephants don't want to come near there instead of killing them. So they do that. They've learned that through working together and doing that kind of thing, that they've been able to protect these elephants, which in return brings in sustainable tourism, ecotourism, that very light-footed travelers come in, and their community has now more financial backing, or I should say they're economically more viable because of this. So the elephants are now bringing them money instead of destroying their homes. Everyone's living happily together, and also because of their integrity and working together as a community, they are not a place where, they're right outside where the elephants are in parks. The poachers are not welcome into their town. They're like, hello, if you're going to kill our elephants, you're not welcome. So there's a true sense of protecting what their values are, and that is the elephants and the giraffe. So it's a really interesting example that is life-saving for them as human beings, as of villages, needing to protect themselves and also be viable financially. So it's an interesting thing what we can all do as communities.
Well, there's a competitive edge that a community that knows who they are and has their core values, retains them and expands them. From a tourism level, they get an economic boost that other communities who do not have those core values and don't really know who they are can have. Not only do they get more money, they actually develop more jobs. and more independent businesses, so you don't have, like, every once in a while a big corporation will move into a town and mine and do mining, and almost everybody works for the mine, and then the mine closes, and now you've got all these houses and these people who have no jobs, and they haven't developed anything to take over. There's no independent businesses. Even the mine, we're owning the supermarkets and the restaurants, and it's a safeguard for a community to be sustainable and develop independent businesses for tourism.
And the small businesses, so they don't go to the other side of the world, so everything's not just ordered off the internet. Stephanie, before we go, I want a closing statement from each of you, if any you want to add to this before we go. And Stephanie, Kentucky has made huge changes in the state, and tourism is, from what I've been reading, is a lifesaver, because you've changed from just on the extractive industry. And some of the farming and agriculture, hasn't it changed more towards that tourism is an important thing for the state as a whole?
We really have, and Springfield is a good example of how tourism can be another economic force that comes in to save a town when something happens. For example, we used to be a huge tobacco state, and when the tobacco buyout program came about, a lot of farmers around here no longer could do farming like they have been for generations. They couldn't make a living like that anymore, and tourism came to Springfield at a time, like active tourism. The commission came at a time when it was very critical, and I think people around here see that diversity needs to be in place if something devastating like that happens to another arm of your economy.
And tourism is one of those that can be diversified in so many ways. There's towns that we know of that, the mining town, and everybody's doing well, and then all of a sudden it goes, bye-bye. We're not doing that anymore, and the town's left hanging, and they're in people's lives. I mean, it affects everything, and kids, and poverty levels rise, and so absolutely great. Thank you for making that example. Glynn, anything you want to share before we close this and go to music and other travel things that we're covering today?
It's just really to reiterate that we have to change. When I was a kid, there were 90% of my schoolmates at primary school in the village, their dads worked on the farm. Now, I would think probably there isn't one person at school whose dad works on a farm. But all the farms are still working. It's just that they're not needing all the people to work on them, and that people travel in to actually run them. So farms have had to diversify. It's all about doing something different, and a lot of these farms are actually doing things to do with tourism. I mean, the man who I was talking to you about, Mr. Whippy, he's a dairy farmer who used to just sell his milk. Now he makes ice cream.
Yay!
And he makes yogurts. He's talking to me the other day, and he's making doggy ice cream treats, which are really popular in the summertime. Because obviously you can't give a dog a normal ice cream, but he's making these specific doggy ice cream treats that you can give for dogs. He used to be a dairy farmer. Now he's an ice cream maker.
Yeah, that's okay. So, Bobbi, we've moved into flexibility. Key effect.
Yes. Yes.
They all go together with that. Anything you want to say before we go, Bobbi?
Well, to me, it's about participation and getting involved. That's what we found here. That people were definitely in silos, maybe in their own sphere, whether it was a service club or what. But when we get all the different members of the community together and have a conversation, they learn about each other, and they're motivated about, wow, I didn't know you did that. And learning about each other's businesses and activities and programs and trainings and what they stand for, we feel so much more connected. So that's
can help each other.
Yes, is to participate. And we've been talking about Abraham Lincoln a bit, and one of his quotes is, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. So bound to just give your best and get involved. And it really is an expression of who you are.
And having the commitment to it. I think that, Stephanie, you and I in some past meetings trying to go to leaders understand that participation has to happen, and you just don't quit on them. And you have to just say, okay, that's for this way, this is why, and then you go and change it up a little bit until you hit that nugget. And do you have any advice for that, Bobbi, on getting past that? Because sometimes in a community it's hard to get some people to. Do you just go past them and just keep working with those who want to see change, and understand these values? What do you do with the people who just say, no, this hasn't been done, we don't need to do that, we can keep the way we are?
Well, you just keep a positive context, and you start holding it so tight and pure, and that more and more people join it, so that's the direction it's going, and other people give way.
We do have things now that we didn't have before. For example, in the tourism industry, we have really good stats to look at. And it can show you can go to a leader of a community, especially if there's other people in the meeting, and you can show them financially the difference between their community who's maybe not embraced tourism as opposed to one with the same amount of people who have embraced tourism. Because I've learned, this might sound kind of cynical, but I've learned that when you start talking money and you show money, people start to listen faster, or those blocks come down sometimes. Because a lot of times people run on opinion and not educated opinion.
Yeah.
We like to illustrate how tourism affects each individual household. For instance, the state does a economic impact study, and how much money is brought into the state. And last year, 2017, it saved each household an average of $1,700 in taxes.
Wow. See, now that's a really good point, because every state is different. I think Arizona last year was like $986. The average person didn't, have to pay tax.
Yay.
Yeah, you saved on your taxes. I think California is like $1,046, something like that. So every year, the states all have these programs that will show how much you save on your taxes because of tourism dollars coming in.
That's amazing.
So when you start telling people that, suddenly the ones who are like, no, we don't want tourists. They're like, oh, wait a minute.
I want visitors to come because I don't want to pay taxes at all.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. I want roads and infrastructure. I want that to happen, and and tourism helps with that.
It does, because if you don't take care of your roads, you're not going to have tourism.
Exactly. So it's hand in hand. It really is.
Exciting.
Later on the show, we're going to be airing Steve Schneiker's Hollywood History of Travel Movies, and I want to touch on this because that's another part of tourism. Bobbi, and I know we've all got to go, but Bobbi, you've got Hollywood History in your backyard at the Mission, at the Oceanside Mission. It's just a massive, beautiful mission that you have, but also you have the Top Gun House, and that is a community thing that the historical societies and all these different community organizations have protected this house, the Top Gun House, which is where Kelly McGillis actually stayed in there during the filming of Top Gun. But Top Gun was filmed in Southern California, in Oceanside, and they might be making another one. So Tom Cruise may have to come to a Community Alliance for the Youth Success meeting. I'm just saying.
Yes, it is very iconic and classic. You see the house, and you can go right back to the movie and the conversations that happened on the porch.
I know, right? So that's some movie history. Stephanie is creating movie history right now. Springfield has a film complex. You have a soundstage that is coming in, and so movies and movie making is part of tourism. A lot of people go to where movies have been filmed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I want to go to Elizabethtown just because of the movie.
I want to go back and see Northern Exposure.
I know. Well, we did. We went to the spot of that. So cool. Stephanie, that's something that you're really looking forward to. Springfield is becoming part of the movie industry, and that's part of tourism for you.
I project that pretty soon we're going to be known as Hollywood South, because Springfield has the first and only sound stage, and it used to be a tobacco warehouse. So it's massive. It's over 100,000 square feet. It's one of the largest single sound stages in North America. I think it's number 7.
See,
That's
check
cool.
that out, everybody. And that's converting the tobacco farm, here it is.
Yep.
It's amazing to hear that, being flexible and using what you have. And that's exactly what Glynn was talking about, is you can change and create that vision today and just start working on it. And
That's right.
Glynn, before you go, I want to know, do you have any film history in Norfolk that we should know about?
We have quite a lot. One of the worst things that ever happened was that the film Revolution was filmed in Kings Lynn. That was one of the biggest flops ever. It was all about the American Revolution, and it was filmed in Kings Lynn. But yes, we have a lot of films made here, but mainly because people just like the scenery and how different and old it looks. So it's not actually somewhere that you could go and visit, because a lot of them are just normal streets. So you can visit, but whether you would recognize them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but people that's part of that, keeping your sense of integrity and who you are as a community. That attracts filmmakers, because they're looking for something that isn't the typical little box houses on the hill. They're trying to find the small town America, small town England villages, and if you want to film a pub, you want to see a pub. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it's really cool how, and then you look at, on the other flip side of the coin is, here's Stephanie with a soundstage where all kinds of things can happen. So it's really quite interesting how visions and commitment can change a community. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody, Glynn's article, you'll see that up on nationalparktraveling.com. Also, it will be connected with part 2 of our series that is all about putting the eye back into community through responsible tourism and a responsible tourism plan. And this is part 1. You can go to nationalparktraveling.com or go to the February-March issue of Parks and Travel magazine, and you can see that. And Nancy's given all the different stats, the main stats for understanding the finances, the benefits, the economic benefits, the benefits in regards to job opportunities, and the big benefits for communities by adopting these programs. So check that out again at nationalparktraveling.com. But everybody, for the 8 Keys of Excellence, this is something that's a free family program, and Bobbi wants 50 million kids involved in the family program, and they could be anywhere in the world, right, Bobbi? 50 million.
That's true. Yeah,
yes.
We're about halfway there.
So 50 million. Be part of that. Go to 8keys.org and sign up for the free family program. There's also a program just for schools and teachers, and also just go there and be part of this change. And SuperCamp, if you've got a teen or a preteen, go to supercamp.com, because now is the time to get involved and look at summer academic achievement programs for your kids during the summer. So thank you for joining us, Bobbi. And
thank you.
Always a pleasure having you on the show and talking about excellence in education and communities. I also want to thank Glynn. Thank you for joining us and calling in from England. And everybody go to norfolk-tours.co.uk, because Glynn will take you on a private tour, because he knows England like the back of his hand, and family history.
Yeah. See you all later.
Thank you so much, Glynn. And thank you, Stephanie, for calling in from central Kentucky in Springfield, the land of bourbon, horses, and history. See, that tells it all right there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, you can go to visitspringfieldky.com to learn more about Springfield. But and everybody that's been on the show so far is part of our Big Blend group of experts. You can go to blendradioandtv.com and see everybody there. But we're going to go and play some music, and then we're going to air our segment with Dr. Jackie and Hollywood History with Steve. So here's a song, because we're talking about travel and tourism. It's called Jamaica.
Oh, right.
And it's from Ed Roman, and it's off of his album Letters from a Higher Latitude. And he does a lot of rescue work, or I should say, work in fundraising and bringing products over to Jamaica to communities that need help with different supplies, I should say, is what he does. And he's just an amazing guy based out in Canada, and you can go to his website, edroman.net. But here it is, Jamaica, because we love Jamaica.
can drop it anywhere. Drink your red stripe and watch your Bible. I found a sacred melody inside a hidden wrist. I sit and not stop it, I'm not stopping. I'm a homo, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and Jimmy Cliff. Hold your hands and wave them high. Feel the pulse and watch it fly. Well, you know you're home when you hear that sigh. Well, a jewel in the ocean is where it lies. In Jamaica. In Jamaica. Well, in Jamaica. In Jamaica. In Jamaica. In Jamaica. In Jamaica.
Everyone, again, that was Ed Roman, Jamaica, from his album Letters from a Higher Latitude. I like it. I like it. Go to edroman.net. Okay, so here's my conversation with Dr. Jackie, who has traveled the world in so many ways. It's amazing what she has done. So take a listen. She also shares some tips on staying healthy while you travel. So take a listen. Dr. Jacqueline Ubani is a board-certified cardiologist and an electrophysiologist and is also the author of Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. You can get it on Amazon or go to her website, womenandheartdiseasebook.com. Now, normally, Dr. Jackie is on our show talking about heart health, but today, because she's a world traveler to over 60 countries, she's on our show to talk about what kinds of places she visits. Do they have a sense of place? What attracts her there? Dr. Jackie, it's good to have you back on Big Blend Radio. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
It's good. It's good. You know, I know we actually have had you on our World Travel Show before, so this isn't anything new really, but over 60 countries is a lot. I know you've been a lifelong traveler since, being born in Nigeria and also living in the States and then going back and forth, but now you're full-time here and have been pretty much most of your life, right, in the States?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And then serving in the Navy, let me get that correct. If I said it was the Army, I'd be in trouble, right?
Yes, you would be.
But serving with the Navy, and thank you for your service again on that. But you really, that's part of travel too.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been traveling all of my life.
And so now you travel a lot. I know the last time I spoke with you, you told me, okay, I've been to Cancun, I've been to Israel, Panama. Is that just in this year? Is there more in this year that we missed out on?
That's been Cancun and Israel this year. And I have one more trip planned to France. And I haven't planned anything else beyond that. But I will go to a couple more places this year.
Okay, awesome. Now, when you travel somewhere like Cancun, it's different than Israel, right? The reason of going.
Yes, absolutely. So it depends on my mood when I travel. If I want just quiet beach, doing nothing, then I go to places like Cancun. But if I want historical facts, lots of tours and those kinds of things, and I travel to places like Israel. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I'm a big fan of Western civilization history. So I like to visit countries that have a lot of history, places like Israel and Turkey. So I have to be in the mood for that because that requires a lot of energy and a lot of time. But it's also a lot of fun. It's very different than what I do every day. Being a doctor, it's hard work, going on these trips are fun. They're a lot of work because you get up early and you're going to bed late at night, trying to get, see all the sites and learn all this history. But it's fun. It is so much fun.
I know it is. I mean, to me, travel is it's life because you're learning something each place you go. And then that's the thing to us. I mean, this whole conversation is about integrity in the places that you go to. We go to places because we want to learn something or we want to experience something that stands for what this community says it is. And so then there's that, and then there's places where you go to just go, okay, I'm just coming, just coming out to kind of zonk out and sit at the pool. And so I know you do that in Cancun. that's the latest. Like, hey, I gotta catch up on some sleep because I'm a doctor and I know that you have a schedule like that's crazy, and we appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, so you have two different things, and so I know Cancun's got places that have a natural thing and a cultural thing, but there's also very much a resort style, and I'm not knocking that because that is part of tourism, but it's a different thing. Do you spend a shorter amount of time in a place like Cancun if you're really just kind of catching up?
Yes, correct. So I was just going there really, I just needed a break. I just needed to just not be on the schedule, be on the beach, and I wanted to read a couple of novels. So I picked Cancun. I was only there for 3 to 4 days. I stayed in the usual all-inclusive resort where you get pampered all day and you just read books. So that was nice. It was a break that was much needed because I've been working really hard recently. So that was perfect.
Pamper Dr. Jackie. She needs it. I know it. You gotta pamper her. You got to pamper her, and only allow her to have 5 ounces of wine too. But a day. She's taught us that. She's taught us that. But then also, when you think about also turning around and going to these 2-week vacations that you go on, it's a learning thing. It's a sense of place. So when you're there, do you go into a restaurant that is locally owned versus a chain restaurant maybe? Or what do you feel about going into a downtown of someplace you've always wanted to go and you've been researching the history and then it's a chain of, like, here's a street full of McDonald's and Starbucks and everything? Yeah.
So I'd much rather go and taste the local cuisine. So usually when I go to these places, I usually have work closely with a travel agent. I try to pick a travel agent that's either been there or is from that country and has a lot of information for you. And I pretty much lay out what I want, and they really help me navigate through the country. And they're always pointing me to the local restaurants that most of the locals really like. So I stay away from the touristy areas, and I try to go and just get immersed in the culture.
So you find that a travel agent helps with that, because that's really interesting, because a lot of times it's like, oh, just start planning your trip on the internet, use TripAdvisor and things like that. So you're going, no, I want the locals. I want that.
I want the local, yeah. I mean, I do this TripAdvisor and I corroborate what the travel agent is telling me, but usually the travel agents that I've used, I had this one particular travel agency that I used. The owner of the travel agency is a professor. He's actually Egyptian, but he's a professor and he's well-traveled, and he's, lived in the Middle East. So a lot of my Middle Eastern travels, I use him because he's a professor. He understands a lot of history, and he knows that that's the kind of stuff that I like. So he puts a wonderful package together for me that includes history, immersion in culture, and, maximize my time in these countries, seeing everything I possibly can see within a short period of time.
And I think that's the thing, is when everybody is on a time limit and a budget limit.
Yeah.
Too. And so when you go somewhere, it's like, okay, you can do the wander around thing, but
that takes up time,
Yeah, you may not be getting exactly what you wanted. You know what I mean? You've got to really look at what you're looking, what you want to experience out of it. And I think this is great that you're going in and immersing yourself in the cultures. Now, I know because you're Dr. Jackie that you're not going to leave this conversation without giving us some tips for travelers regarding heart health, and especially if you are dealing with heart health issues.
So, yes, I tell my patients, I recommend that my patients always carry all of their medications in their carry-on with them on the plane. You don't want to pack these up in your luggage just in case your luggage gets lost. If you have a long list of medical problems, it's always a good idea to just write them down on a little small sheet of paper along with your list of medications. So in case you're in a foreign country and something happens to you or you're not able to speak, you can, hand that paper to the local EMS service, and they will, better be able to serve you quicker. And I generally recommend, if you're making these long flights, I recommend taking a baby aspirin, or, just getting up every few minutes, getting up and walking around on the plane to prevent forming blood clots in your leg. And when you get to these countries, if you do have a lot of medical problems, it's a good idea to just know, where the closest hospital is to your hotel, just in case of emergency.
Excellent. And that's true. Everyone should know that. It's really one of those things you should look. They put fire escape things and, what to do in an emergency on the back of the hotel wall or the door. And
right.
How many of us actually look at it? But then when something goes down, and then something goes down, you're like, oh man, I wish I remembered that, because now I'm locked in the bathroom and no, I'm kidding. But something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen with that. And yeah, Dr. Jackie, always great information, and happy travels over 60 countries. I mean, that is a lot of countries. Where's your next destination?
I'm going to France this summer. It's a work/vacation. I have a conference there for a couple of days, and the rest of the time I'm just going to be touring the vineyards and tasting their wine. 5 ounces at a time. 5 ounces at a time.
Per day.
Correct. Per day.
Per day. We've learned from you, Dr. Jackie.
That's right.
We've learned. And may I recommend a 1-hour walk in the vineyard with the winemaker with a glass of wine? And yeah, he's got to balance it out. Or she. There's a lot of women winemakers out there, So, I mean, the south of France.
Are there?
I mean, there are. There's so many. We do so many interviews on winemaking, and it's just a lot of times they're not even on the front. You just don't hear about them at the front. But the women have been involved in winemaking for years, especially in the formation of champagne. I've learned that from Henry Larson who comes on our shows. Yeah. So we, as women, we kick butt in the wine world. It just hasn't been publicized as much. Go figure.
Wow, that's good to know.
Doctors, Dr. Jackie, there's not many up there in the light, like you. Like, we need to have more of you out there, that people know that happens. So just saying, just putting it out there. So thank you so much for the work that you do to keep us all healthy. And everyone, here's the thing. Go get Dr. Jackie's book. It's Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story, Dr. Jacqueline Ubani. And you can get it on Amazon, but also go to her website, womenandheartdiseasebook.com. If you go to blendradioandtv.com, you'll see her in our expert department, and you can read her articles and listen to her interviews and get all kinds of good health tips to keep you on that forward path of good health and happiness. So that's it. When you're happy and healthy, you're really happy. So there it is. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackie. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure being on with you guys.
Thanks. Happy travels.
Thanks. You
Bye-bye.
too. Happy travels. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I love Dr. Jackie. She's fun. She's awesome. I know. Like, if I have to go see a doctor, I'm going to see her, even if it's
no matter what it is.
I don't care what it is. Even if someone needs to fix my feet, I'm going to see her, because I need to have good feet for great stomping. That's important. But she's been to a lot of countries.
That's exciting.
Really, really been around. So
it's interesting that she's going to go to France, because from the stats that I've been looking at tourism-wise, France has for years, over 10 years, been the top destination as a city.
Wow. Did not know
Making a lot of money over there.
Yeah. Well, they've got wine.
A sense of place.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Paris.
And they did it because, when Hillary comes on our show, and even Linda Kissam, food, wine, shopping diva, they always talk about, champagne is France, and France knew it right there. Champagne is only going to be here, and they took that claim. That's integrity in a destination, and they did it with Burgundy wine. This is ours. You cannot call it Burgundy unless it comes from here.
That's right.
So there you go. Even if you have the same grapes or whatever and you grow it, no, it's theirs. And that's that. It's about taking ownership. That's the other key of excellence.
Yeah, so Paris is like the destination with a sense of place and the most traveled city.
I want to go to the catacombs with all the skeletons and everything, like, underground. Yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip. Okay, so now it's time for some Hollywood history. You ready with Steve Schneikert?
Yes.
Take a listen. This is a re-airing of this, and I'd love to pull his Hollywood history segments out of the vault because we've got a big vault. So here it is, everybody.
I'm not touching it.
Here it is, Steve Schneikert, and you can see his Hollywood history segments in Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and our Parks and Travel magazine as well. Enjoy.
If you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway that is best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Easy Rider is the story of two rogue men with choppers on the open road with cocaine in their gas tanks. This 1969 film struck a chord with America in the waning 60s when turmoil from war, poverty, and rioting in the streets caused uproar from the population. Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper play two misfits who are judged by those around them, and their only whim seems to be for freedom. Following the completion of their successful cocaine deal, they moved to living on the road, traveling from L.A. on a cross-country road trip to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and then to their retirement in Florida, while sleeping in the brush and doing whatever they want with malice or love. Surprisingly, the story also deals with the prejudice exacted from those in the Deep South who find their hair, their clothes, their lifestyle to be against what is right and American. The extent of that hatred runs deep, makes the story more amazing, and makes them caged by adversity and disapproval. Dennis Hopper, along with Dustin Reichert, directed the film. Jack Nicholson and Karen Black co-star. The ultimate surfing adventure, a global spanning quest for the perfect waves. The Endless Summer, 1966, brought to us by filmmaker-narrator Bruce Brown, rides the green room all the way to the wild waters of West Africa, to the shark-filled seas of Australia, the tropical seas of the South Pacific, and beyond. These Southern California surfers have truly designed a life where they are living their dream every day. Now you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City is mighty pretty. You see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino, Little Miss Sunshine, 2006. Time to cross the country with the eccentric Hoover family on a hilarious ride in a VW bus to bring their Little Miss Sunshine to her beauty pageant finals in Southern California. It is a good thing this little girl has some serious sunshine. Her family needs every ounce of it, and she spreads it liberally. Directors Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris bring the star-studded cast of Abigail Breslin, Steve Carell, Toni Collette, Greg Kinnear, Bryan Cranston, and Oscar winner Alan Arkin brilliantly together for enjoyable movie entertainment. All aboard! Director Wes Anderson's 2007 The Darjeeling Limited takes three American brothers on a family voyage by train to find their reclusive mother in rural India. A smart, funny script and visually stunning backdrop complements perfectly the story of a family on a surprising spiritual quest where tension turns to epic and cathartic bonding. Starring Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzman, and with Bill Murray. You'll never know just how much I love you. You'll never know just how much I care. Martin Scorsese at his directing best with 1974's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. After her husband dies, Alice, Oscar winner Ellen Burstyn, and her son Tommy leave their small New Mexico town for California, where Alice hopes to make it as a singer. Money problems force them to settle in Arizona instead, where Alice takes a job as a waitress in a small diner. Well, kiss my grits. She tends to head back out on the road, but her plans change when she begins to fall for a rancher named David, Chris Christopherson. Get your kicks on Route 66. I'm Steve Schneikert, and this is Hollywood History as I recall it.
Well, kiss my grits.
Well, I'd rethink my plans for Chris Christopherson.
I know. He can kiss my grits, too.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Where are... Well, okay. Let me not go there.
I know. Thank you, Senor Steve Schneikert. Again, you can go, if you go to blendradioandtv.com and look in our expert department, you'll see Steve there. You can click on him, and then you'll be able to hear all his different segments through the years, and with links to the radio shows, magazine features, you name it, it's all there.
I thought you were going to say, click on him and you can kiss his grits.
Well, I don't know if he'd like that. But, he likes the, ruby reds, click, click, the ruby reds.
Heels, yes.
Yes, the ruby red heels from The Wizard of Oz before I don't make any sense at all.
Okay.
All right. So I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. We're going to close with some music, travel, road trip music, because we're good at that. Again, I want to thank Bobbi DePorter from SuperCamp and the 8 Keys of Excellence, Glynn Burrows from Norfolk Tours in England, and then Stephanie McMillin over in Springfield, Kentucky, Steve Schneikert, and Dr. Jackie Ubani. Our Big Blend radio shows now air daily, as I was saying earlier, Monday through Thursday start at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Our next show is Monday, March 12th with author Steve Piacente talking about his new novel, Pretender, which is a follow-up from his award-winning books Bella and Bootlicker.
They're good.
And then Tuesday, March 13th, we have Garden Gossip. We are going to talk about Exeter's Garden Party with Sandy Blankenship. So they have these garden parties and garden walks in Exeter, California, just outside Sequoia National Park. And naturalist David Mizajewski is back on the show to talk about how to get your kids in the garden. Tips on gardening with your family.
Push them outside and lock the door.
Yes. Throw them in the rose bush. No, just kidding. But anyway, he'll be on the show. And then Wednesday, March 14th, we're going to talk about Paris. We have a show just all about Paris.
Well, there you go.
And what we can learn from Parisians. We're going to talk about the Parisian Charm School. Best-selling author Jamie Callan will be joining us to talk about her book, Parisian Charm School, French Secrets for Cultivating Love, Joy, and that certain je ne sais quoi.
Ooh.
I actually said that. I did that.
Chocolate bleu.
Okay, kiss my grits. All right, so everybody, again, BigBlendRadio.com is the best place to go to see the schedule, and you can find all the different places where to listen. So if you want to listen here on Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker.com, or YouTube, all of the links are right there, so all the different outlets. Thanks so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Here is the song. It's called Travel Song. It's road trip music from guitarist Misha Shellhoff. This is off of his album called Double Take, and you can go to MishaMusic.com. It's MICHA, Misha MishaMusic.com. And a big happy birthday to him.
That's
and
right.
he's done a lot of world travel, and so happy birthday to you, traveler. And he's also got a cabin that he rents out in Joshua Tree, so right outside Joshua Tree Park. So go to MishaMusic.com and connect with him there and enjoy a travel song. It's one of my favorites.